to the story here. I thought this was really interesting. So recently, Nina Turner was on Breaking Points, and she was asked, how she feels about the attacks that are towards Dr. Jill Stein. I think you guys need to see this. I was really impressed. I was surprised by this. Nina Turner, she's a Democrat. She's a part of the Democratic Party. So you might be surprised with some of the things that she said here about Jill Stein. And then I want to show you the new attack that is happening against Jill Stein now on social media, and where this may have actually started from. So let's go ahead and get started with this clip here from Breaking Points. Nina Turner sounding off the alarm here.
I wanted to get you quickly to weigh in on something else that's a very interesting development, which is that Democrats have now cut an ad against Dr. Jill Stein, who, of course, is the Green Party nominee. This is the first that they've really paid any attention to her, and I think it's very interesting and potentially very revealing. So let's take a look at that ad, and then I'll get your thoughts on the other side.
Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
I'm sorry. I showed you guys that ad on here before. It's crazy how desperate the Democratic Party is getting. Crazy.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
So I don't know how much money is behind this ad. So I don't know how widespread it is in circulation or how much it's just an internet ad. But to me, very noteworthy that they decided to cut this ad, and I think potentially very revealing of some concern, especially maybe in the state of Michigan, that people who are disgusted with the Biden-Harris enabling of a genocide in Gaza are looking for a candidate who opposes that.
The polling data shows it, Crystal. Dr. Stein is winning in the Arab American community in Michigan. That ad makes my skin crawl as well, because the people who want to vote for Dr. Jill Stein, we assuming that if Dr. Stein was not on the ballot, that they would be voting for Democrats. And that's a wrong assumption. They're voting for Dr. Jill Stein or the Green Party because the Green Party puts up a different message, a different platform, and a different vision.
This is what people really need to hear. So again, I will say, I've had my issues with Nina Turner, like choosing to stay in the Democratic Party. I think she needs to leave the Democratic Party. But I do appreciate her, this defense here for Jill Stein, because this cannot be said enough. I get really tired of Democrats and Republicans assuming that if we are not voting for this third party candidate, or if this third party candidate did not exist, then we would be supporting that Democrat candidate and that Republican candidate. And Nina is correct when she says, like, that's not true. For most of us, that is not true. There may be a few that are like, oh, okay, well, but for the most part, most of us know. And what's interesting is it's not even just Jill Stein. Chase Oliver is on the ballot in almost every single state. I think there's 2 states I saw recently on the map that he doesn't have ballot access. I think there's 2, but Chase Oliver is a libertarian, is on the ballot in almost every single state. So he has more ballot access than Jill Stein does. Now, I know you guys are like, he's a libertarian, so some of them are going to probably end up supporting, Trump or whatever anyway. But Chase Oliver is a little bit different, because one of the things I noticed about him, again, he's very critical of what Israel is doing. He was an activist for the Black Lives Matter movement. It's a little bit different than what you may be used to with libertarian candidates. But there's him. Cornel West is still on the ballot in a certain number of states as a write-in candidate, and on the ballot in others. There's also Claudia de la Cruz with PSL. See, I think they're sleeping on some of the other candidates as well that also may pull support from Arab American voters and Muslim voters as well. So it's not just Jill Stein. Not all of Muslim voters that are voting third party are voting for Jill. Some of them are supporting Claudia de la Cruz. Some of them are supporting Cornel West. So these are things just to keep in mind. Let's go back in.
For this country. And yet it is very telling. They must be scared. And to conflate her voter saying that she is helping Donald J. Trump when nothing can be further from the truth. Again, this is the United States of America, so I thought. I also thought that people have agency in their ability to vote. That's what I thought. But the Democrats, by this ad and how they also comported themselves in the primary by locking everybody out of the primary, is showing that they themselves don't believe in small d democracy as they profess to. This is wrong, and it takes away the agency of voters, and it makes it seem like voters don't know what they want and what they're doing. You poor little voters, we're going to tell you what to do and how to vote. It's wrong. It's menacing what the Democrats.
And I think some people may have forgotten because it's been quite a bit. But remember, Nina Turner ran for Congress twice, right? So she ran in that special election against Shontel Brown, and she was in the lead in the polls there. And then there was a lot of money that came in from AIPAC there, and there was a lot of pressure on her to support Israel. I remember all this. And then she ran again against Shontel Brown, not as the gap between her and Shontel the second time was smaller, or excuse me, was wider than it was the first time. But again, so she knows like what that now she hasn't run as a third party candidate or independent candidate, but she was also a part of Bernie Sanders campaigns too. When she remembers the smears that Bernie Sanders got and Bernie Sanders supporters got who didn't want to support Hillary Clinton or didn't want to support Joe Biden. So she was around for all of that. So, and Bernie was running as a Democrat. So this is the thing I want to tell you guys. It's not just them attacking third party independent candidates, although they will do so heavily, but they also attack Democrat candidates that don't fit the status quo. So that's why they attacked someone like Bernie so heavily. You get up there, you start talking about universal health care and free, pre-K and all this kind of stuff. They're like, oh, no. The billionaires won't like that. No. Billionaires say, no. We don't like that. So they'll fight against them too. I remember the smears they came out against with Bernie Sanders. I remember the attack ads they had against him, just blatant lies. So you don't have to really be a third party or independent candidate for the Democratic Party to attack you. You can run in the Democratic Party and the Democrat leadership will still attack you if you're not a part of the status quo. Isn't that crazy?
Party is doing. And I'm really ashamed that my party would stoop to this level to say that anybody that Dr. Jill Stein and the Green Party is in any way enabling President Donald J. Trump. If they want to talk about donations, let's talk about donations here. When I ran for Congress, a lot of Republicans jumped into the special election in Cleveland, Ohio, in a solidly Democratic district and donated to my opponent. Okay, so don't bring it here. When they talk about AIPAC money, AIPAC funds both Democrats and Republicans equally.
Yeah, you can't say that part loud enough, folks, because people always say, "Oh, it's a right-leaning, a lobby interest group," but they fund both of those parties.
So don't bring it here in terms of talking about Dr. Stein and Dr. Ware and the Green Party in this way. I believe in democracy. I am a Democrat, but I don't answer. I don't worship this party. Democracy is more important to me. And so them coming at Dr. Jill Stein shows, and the Green Party shows how weak they are right now. And it is also the antithesis of what they say. So now they can't chastise the Republicans anymore about being a threat to democracy, because what the Democratic Party is doing right now is a threat to democracy. Voters want choice in the United States of America. We should not just have a duopoly in the United States of America. And
this just goes to show you again with the Democratic Party, because we can't say this enough. As much as they talk about we got to protect democracy, to Nina Turner's point, they're not really trying to protect democracy. They're trying to protect the status quo. So let's change that phrase for the Democrats, guys. Can you do that with me? Can we say it all together? Because like when you hear them say, we got to protect democracy, you have to push back on that and say, no, what you're really saying is you have to protect the status quo. Because one thing we have to remember, even when it comes to liberals are fine with the status quo. They want a couple of reforms, but they don't want to dismantle the system. They don't want to change the system. They want the system that is there to still exist with just a couple of reforms. So you really got to understand what they're asking for. But the way that they're trying to, like, they pulled third party candidates off the ballot, and they've done this before. It's not new. But the way that they've gone about doing this and trying to trick candidates and giving them incorrect paperwork, or just saying your signatures are invalid, so you're out of here, even though they're wet signatures. It is very disgusting and very troubling. And you can tell that this is not just about Jill Stein. It's about protecting the status quo. It's not even just, I don't want to say it's even just about Kamala Harris winning anymore. I don't even think it's about necessarily Kamala Harris winning anymore. I think it's about protecting the status quo. And for them, the status quo is not Donald Trump, because, Trump kind of went off script. Donald Trump said some things aloud that you're only supposed to say behind closed doors. So Donald Trump let some things kind of fall out of his mouth that people were like, okay, you're not supposed to let people know the game. So even though he's a billionaire, they don't even consider him to be status quo, because he pulled the cover off. He let people see what was really going on. And then there's the whole January 6th thing. So they're like, oh no, this guy we can't have. So there's that. So I don't even think it's about Kamala winning anymore, guys. I just think it's about them protecting the status quo. And third party candidates don't protect the status quo. Grassroots campaigns don't protect the status quo.
They got better ideas. They certainly raising more money. Why are you suing to get people like Dr. West off the ballot, and suing to get people like Dr. Stein and Dr. Ware from the Green Party off the ballot? If my party is all that, they certainly getting all the money. They get all the airplay on mainstream media. So what y'all scared of?
Yeah.
That the American people will see different choices, and then they will make a different choice.
Couldn't agree more.
We should compete straight up.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't feel that way.
The funny thing, and Dr. Stein pointed this out on Twitter, is that while they're accusing her of being supported by Republicans, Kamala Harris is running around campaigning with Liz Cheney and touting her support.
Oh my God.
Dick Cheney's are like,
okay. Thank you for that example. Honored to have Dick Cheney endorsement, campaigning with Senator Liz Cheney, but progressives like us? Oh no.
No.
Oh
yeah.
no.
But again, that goes back to protecting the status quo, guys. That goes back to protecting the status quo, because think about it. If they're fine with Kamala Harris working with Liz Cheney or getting an endorsement from Dick Cheney, that means they're again, protecting the status quo. Dick Cheney is a warmonger and a neocon. So that's status quo. They want that. They want to keep that. So they're totally fine with that. So it's okay for Kamala Harris to work side by side with Republicans, but you can't vote for Jill Stein. It's okay for Kamala Harris to work side by side with Republicans, but they're out here releasing attack ads against Jill Stein, saying that she's getting money from Republicans. Didn't Kamala Harris get money from Republicans? Make it make sense. And these are the kind of things I think people can kind of just overlook and miss if they're not really paying attention. But this is crazy and wild, fam.
Haven't seen that.
They rather have Republicans.
That's right.
Than to have progressives. That is very tough.
Well, we see how it's working out for them. The voice may be hoarse, but as always, the message comes through loud and clear. Senator Nina Turner, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see
oh
you.
my God, I appreciate you both so much, and just love that you give opportunity for other voices that just don't walk a fine line. You both know I'm a lover of people. I'm a lover of justice, and I do believe that folks who have elected titles, they owe the people that they serve to really lift them. And God knows people in this country really do need this right now.
Yeah.
So thank you both.
Great.
Okay, so Nina Turner there on Breaking Points, she came out and she defended Jill Stein there. And of course, Jill Stein's running a third party. But something else happened, I noticed too, because Nina Turner did speak at the ADOS convention, and she had some things to say about the Democratic Party at the ADOS convention. I want to show you this as well. I don't know how Nina Turner is feeling about how she's going to move politically. I don't know. She is a Democrat. She is a part of the Democratic Party. I haven't seen her leave the Democratic Party. I know at one point she did speak at the People's Party forum, but People's Party turned out to be a complete mess, disaster. It started, I think, with progressive policies, and it started to move towards a populist thing, and they lost a lot of people that were a part of the board when that happened, as well as crazy other things that went down with the People's Party. But at the ADOS convention, I want you to hear, she said something else about the Democratic Party here, about them criticizing black male voters.
My sisters, I am saying to you that if any party lifts us but leaves our men behind, we don't want it. We don't want it. We don't want it.
So that was Nina Turner there at the ADOS convention. And she said, if any party wants to, I guess, basically, elevate the women, but, not the men or whatever, we don't need them. We don't want them. And she's calling out the Democratic Party in the way that they have belittled black male voters for not simping for their queen. These people are fucking crazy. But what's even, I don't know what Nina Turner is going to do, later on. I really don't know. But at some point, who knows? I do know she is a Democrat and she is a part of the Democratic Party. I don't foresee her leaving it, but I don't know Nina Turner. I've never met her. I've never interviewed her. I don't know. But the fact that she defended Jill Stein, I think that was a great thing. And I think more Democrats should be doing that, by the way. Like you would think the so-called progressive or squad members would also be defending Jill Stein. But no, AOC has to come out and do these smear pieces or whatever. Such a freaking sellout. It's ridiculous. Because now there's even a new attack ad on Jill Stein. And I want to bring this up. And we're going to give a shout out to Roger Meadows because Roger has been keeping me informed. Check this out, guys. So this is Lee Smith. You know who Lisa Smith is? Liz Smith is the woman that attacked the women that were accusing Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment. This is the woman who came out and attacked those women. So she's a Democrat Party loyalist to the T, right? So don't even come with me about protecting women when you got her doing things like that. Check this out. Here's the newest one, guys. Former KKK leader David Duke has endorsed Dr. Jill Stein for president. So you see the new smear tactic that they're using now. Former KKK leader David Duke endorses Jill Stein for president. So listen to this, guys. So they got the audio here. Notice you don't see David Duke on video. It's audio. Listen to this.
This is David Duke. I'm going to shock a number of people and some of my own supporters, maybe. I'm going to do what's good for white people, Europeans. I endorse for president of the United States, Green Party candidate, Dr. Jill Stein. This is David Duke. I'm going to shock.
So, yeah. So you see what's happening, right? Now, I don't know if that's him or not. We don't see his face. He's not on video. It does sound like his voice could have been AI. Don't know. But what's interesting here is this is obviously another smear tactic. But I'm going to show you something else too. This is not the first time this has happened. Peep this, fam. Shout out to Roger. Shout out to Roger Meadows for this because I didn't know. I want to take you back to 2012. Not too long ago. Remember Charles Barron? Raise your hand if you remember Charles Barron, right? Charles Barron ran against Hakeem Jeffries. How many of you knew that? Charles Barron ran against Hakeem Jeffries. And Roger Meadows was telling me that apparently during that time, at first, Charles Barron was beating Hakeem Jeffries in the polls. Then all of a sudden, this smear attempt comes out against Charles Barron. Now, Charles Barron was a Black Panther. He was also pro-Palestine. So David Duke endorses Charles Barron. This is June 21st of 2012. Everybody following me here? This has been done before. In an earlier post about NJDC PAC's effort to rally opposition against Charles Barron in New York's 8th District Democratic primary, there's a reference to Barron being endorsed by David Duke. Yes, it's true. Duke gave Barron his imprimatur Wednesday in a train wreck video that you can't avert your eyes from, as the former KKK Grand Wizard and Senate candidate delivers his reasons for supporting a New York City-based African-American candidate for Congress. So why is this important, ladies and gentlemen? This is important because you have to realize that the Democratic Party has done this before. This isn't new. Charles Barron lost that race, and that's how Hakeem Jeffries got that seat. I want to say this again. Charles Barron was beating Hakeem Jeffries in the polls. Next thing you know, this attack comes out. David Duke endorses Charles Barron, and Charles Barron ends up losing. And Hakeem Jeffries wins that seat, goes on to make a political career for himself, is very much status quo, and is now the minority speaker of the House. What I think could be happening here, it almost kind of seems like David Duke is some type of low-key Democrat operative. Don't you think it's weird? This has happened with more than one candidate. And a lot of people who saw that post on Twitter probably have no idea who Charles Barron is, probably have no idea that this has been done before. Don't you think it's weird someone who is a white supremacist would be endorsing a black man? Charles Barron was a black man. Don't you think it's weird that someone who's a white supremacist would endorse a Jewish woman? Jill Stein is Jewish. David Duke doesn't like Jewish people either. So it sounds like to me, David Duke is some type of op. We got to pay attention to all the things that are happening around us, and we have to always look back to see if it's been done before, especially when it comes to politics, when it comes to smear tactics. We see the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they play the same games over and over. And it's so interesting how quickly people will forget, but they've been doing this before. Think about it, folks. And it's so funny to me. Like, a lot of people were just like, oh my God, we knew it. We knew it. See, she's a supremacist. She's a supremacist. Jill Stein is Jewish. Jill Stein is pro-Palestinian. Like, people don't even think. Like, blue, no matter who, people are just taking this and they're running with it. They're not even using their brains. That's the cult of the two-party system.